Hey guys, this is Luis and welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to take a look at the basic configurations that is required to make the server ready. Now, for any computer to communicate on a network, it needs an identity. So one of the things we are going to do is we are going to change the name of our computer. Then we'll give the computer an IP address. We will configure our time and date. And then we will also turn on remote connection so somebody can log onto the server remotely. So if you are ready, let's go to the server manager, and then from the dashboard, let us click local server. Now when you notice, you can see that our computer name is self-generated. Now you need to be able to remember your computer's name from wherever you are, but then it will be difficult to record this on the network. So we are going to change this, but we won't do that just yet, because when we do, it's going to restart and I wouldn't want to have a break in the video. So one of the things we are going to do is we are going to assign the computer an IP address. By default, you notice it says IP address assigned by DHCP. A server is never supposed to have an automatic IP address. The server must have a static IP address so it can always be reachable. So we click on the IP address. Then we double click on this Ethernet. Then you click, when you check the details, it says DHCP enabled, yes, but because there is no DHCP available on our network, it has been assigned an APIPA address, which is an automatic configured IP address that the system has self-assigned itself. We close this and then we click properties. Now when you come here, we click on the Internet Protocol version 4. Then we click properties. Now by default, it says obtain an IP address automatically. Now we are going to select use the following IP address and then specify a class C IP address 192.168.1.1. When we click the subnet mask, automatically it's going to be auto-filled. Then we have default gateway. If we are going to be connecting to the internet, then we are going to need a gateway. But since everything we are doing is virtualized and it is in a virtual network, we wouldn't be needing a gateway at this moment. But along the line, when it becomes necessary, we can come back and then we can specify the gateway. Now use the following DNS servers or addresses. Now our aim is, by the end of the day, this server is going to become a DNS server. So we are going to specify this server's IP address and say 192.168.1.1, so that whenever any system needs to resolve any name, this server will ask itself. So we can click OK, close, and then close. Then we can also close here. But you notice that the change we have made does not reflect here. So we can click on refresh for the server manager to be refreshed, and then you can see our IP address is here. Then we have NIC teaming. NIC teaming, we are not going to enable NIC teaming now. We have remote desktop, so we want to enable remote desktop so that in case the administrator is away and then he wants to log onto this server, he can do that through remote desktop. So we can click allow connections. Now it says that once we enable this, a rule is going to be created in the firewall to permit log on to the server through remote desktop. So we say okay, it should do that. Then it says allow connections only from computers running remote desktop with network level authentication. What this means is that only persons that have been authenticated through Active Directory will be permitted to log onto this server through remote desktop, and that's a good thing. If we uncheck it, then it means that anybody on any computer at all can attempt to log onto the server through remote desktop. But one thing you have to bear in mind too is that by default, only the administrator and members of the administrators group have the right to log on to the server through remote desktop. So we click apply and then OK. You notice that one too is still disabled, so we can refresh and then we can enable this. All right, then because we are not connected to the internet, we won't worry about latest updates, but in the real life environment, you will need to install all your updates before you start installing roles and features. We can also enable error reporting. We can also enable error reporting to Microsoft. Okay, and then say okay. Then we can refresh for it to also show. Then we have, if you want to participate in the Microsoft Experience Improvement Program, you can also do that from here. And then we want to set our date and time. I am recording from Ghana, so I have to change my time zone to I think Dublin, yeah. And then I say okay, and then okay. So let me check my time. Yeah, 7:23. So yeah, the time is okay. So I have to refresh again so we can see that the change has actually taken effect. So now that I have done most of the things that I need to do, I can go ahead and then change my computer name so that even when it restarts, we can end the video. So I'm going to click change. So first and foremost, I clicked on my computer name here, then I click change. So when I come here, I'm going to change it to DC-1. I'm calling it DC because in the end, the first row we are going to be installing is Active Directory, and that is going to make the server a domain controller. So if this was a second server and then we already had an existing server and then an existing domain, then member of, we would have selected that it should be changed to domain, and then we would have typed the domain name here. But because this is our first server and we are going to create the domain on this server, there's no need to change this here, so we'll leave it on workgroup. Once we install the right role and the server becomes a domain controller, it will automatically change to a domain. So we click OK, and then there's going to be a pop-up telling us that a restart is required. So we click OK. So when I click close, the system is going to restart. So before you can install any role on this system, these are the things you are supposed to do. You have to give your computer a name. You have to set a static IP address. You have to make sure the administrator account has a password. Then you have to make sure you have an update. In real life environment, the system must have the most current security updates from Microsoft. Your date and time must be correct, and then you can start installing roles. So in the next video, we will walk through how to install roles and features on this server. So you can click close to have our server restart. So the server is going to restart, and then I'm going to end the video.